And I'm gonna tell you what the absolute hardest part of transitioning is. It's not the sailing. We live in a very small space and we only have one bathroom. Good morning. It is 7 a.m. in the morning, and as per usual, Ryan is starting the day with some type of a project or repair, and I'm just gonna make coffee.
We're getting water, fresh water in our bilge, and it's really annoying.
Yes.
No, that's definitely water in there. If it's not coming from here, I'm like completely clueless on where this water's coming from.
And good morning. Arguably, the best part about having a YouTube channel is all the people that we meet, because they want to do the same thing as us and they come to us and ask questions and we end up being friends. During those discussions, we usually talk about the same things. So I really wanted to make a video for those exact friends and talk about all the things that I wish somebody had told me before we moved on board and untied the lines. So Heidi and Franny, Ben and Steve, this video is for you. Are you ready, honey?
Ready.
What are we gonna do today?
We're gonna go for a run.
Yay! When was the last time I went for a run?
I have no idea. I think it's been a while.
And one thing that I wish somebody had told me before we moved in on board is how difficult it is to work out and keep in shape on the boat. Oh wow! Look at that water! My goodness!
Nice morning.
Yes! Ready?
Ready, steady, go.
Just to be fair to working out on a boat though, it is absolutely possible. But as former triathletes, we do not get nearly the same intensity or consistency in our workout. When I used to run 20 to 40 kilometers a week, I'm now happy if I can do that in a year. And yes, I'm out of shape. What I would do different? Honestly, not much. Moving on board comes with a few trade-offs, and this is just one of those. But hey, swimming at the back of your boat after a workout definitely compensates.
Alright, so before we start with the things that are really serious, my biggest regret and what I found was the hardest part of this lifestyle, here's the first thing I wish I knew. We postponed our departure a year because we were super anxious. There was something living your entire life and everything you know and your house and your culture and your friends to go towards something that you don't know about, even when you're really, really excited and it's a project that you've been working on for years. It's really scary, and I don't know, maybe some of you can relate. But we were really anxious and asking ourselves a lot of questions about, was it the right thing to do? What if we failed? What if something really bad happened? And you know, the first 2 to 3 months there was an adjustment and life was a bit tiring and it was difficult at times. But after 3 months, and especially when we arrived in Spain or in a little bit warmer climate and we started feeling like we were actually cruising, damn, I love this life. And I was like, I wish someone had told me this because I would have done it sooner. All right, I'll go shower. That was nice. So when Ryan and I considered sailing as a lifestyle, I was working my 9-to-5 corporate job and I paid a lot of attention to my appearance. I really liked makeup, I liked skincare, I liked fashion, I liked shoes, and I thought that moving on a sailboat and living on a sailboat full time would fundamentally change that and change how I would dress, how I would wear makeup. I would become this more natural person. Oh, this is a cute dress. And to a certain extent, it did kind of do that. You know, in the first 6 months of a sailing, I discovered the pleasure of outdoor clothing and wearing zero makeup. But here is the thing. The sailing lifestyle, it doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change what you like. It doesn't change your personality. And after 6 months, I was desperate for my dresses and my skincare. Fear not though, they quickly found their ways back to me. So no, I did not become this more natural, hippie, vegan version of myself. No. Here is what happened. I became more of myself. And I realized that this isn't really the norm in the sailing world, but that's the beauty of it. You know, in this life, we are absolutely free to be whoever it is that we want to be, and I get to be the crazy French lady that goes around in her electric dinghy with big hats, sunglasses, and fancy dresses. So if you're about to embark on your own sailing adventure, take the whole of yourself, take what you like, take who you are, and live your best life. I need a bigger hat. Okay, so on the topic of things that you should take with you or not, here are some thoughts. When Ryan and I decided to move on board, I was very into the idea of downsizing and taking the absolute essential, the bare minimum. And we had received this tip from our sailing instructor who told us, whenever you move on board, whatever you take with us is gonna get ruddy, so take the cheap stuff, it's gonna break, it's gonna get in salt air, it's a mess. And I took that advice, and so all of the things that I really liked having in my galley, I didn't take. And again, I know that it is popular to have plastic dishes and plastic glasses on board boats because they don't break, but here is the thing. The minute that you move on board your boat becomes your house, and you probably have a certain standard of comfort for how you want your house to be. And one of the things that I didn't want is to eat in plastic dishes and drink in plastic cups every day. I mean, of course I can do it in holidays or once in a while, but if I was to live on board my boat for a year or more, I wanted to have actual dishes. And that's just me. You're probably different, but I wish that someone had told me, take the stuff that makes you feel like you are home. And here are a few examples of things that makes it work for me. So, we're gonna remove the cushion. This is the storage in which I put all of the kitchen items that have made my life on board so much better and my house amazing. This is a piece of a pasta machine. I have a food processor, a scale back there. This is a vacuum sealant machine. And here is another example of what I mean. When we moved on board Polar Seal, we only brought our worst sheets. We left all of our nice sheets in the basement of our apartment in Stockholm. Our sheets that were not even that great when we left Stockholm get so much worse after 3 years of living in a harsh environment with salt air and humidity, you name it. So guys, let me introduce you to our new sheets. They are very pretty, they were very hard to find and also very expensive. So yeah, I guess that next time I'll bring the sheets. Now talking about your home, which is your sailboat, yeah. It is so easy when looking at sailboats to buy to look at their sailing capabilities, their blue water cruiser features and etc, etc. But the reality of it is that for one day that you will be at sea and those sailing capabilities will be the absolute best and make your voyage extraordinary, you will be spending at least a week on anchor or at the harbor. And so it is at least equally important that your sailboat is a good house as it is a good sailboat. And the same thing applies for the equipment that you choose to have on your boat. Here's an example. Ahead of your voyage, you can buy a brand new wardrobe of sails. The sails will only make the sailing part of the voyage better, more efficient, faster, more comfortable. But if you look at things such as water makers, lithium batteries, a bigger inverter, davits for the dinghy, etc., 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 those are items that will make life on board more comfortable and that will have a bigger impact on literally every day, not just the days that you're at sea sailing. So when you choose your sailboat and your sailboat is meant to become a home, make sure that you pick yourself a really nice and comfortable house. If we had known that, we would have probably bought a bigger boat that has a cabin with a little more headspace. Before we left the dock and went on this wonderful sailing adventure of ours, I would be sitting at the desk of my office and project myself into really hard sailing situations. And I would make myself a mountain out of sailing in storms. Here is the thing, when you learn how to sail, you learn how to read the weather and you learn how to plan for weather, and you are not gonna choose to go out in really bad conditions. There was this one time when we were sailing to the Canaries and we knew that the conditions that we were going to encounter were going to be rough. But we were ready for it. We knew what it was going to be like. We knew the kind of wind that we were going to face. We knew that the boat was ready for it. We knew that we were ready for it. And yeah, we had a minor incident with seasickness. It is 8:30 and I just barfed. But it went well. And on the topic of shitty conditions and shitty sails, I wish that I knew how expendable my comfort zone was. Ryan and I had about 2 years of sailing experience when we left Stockholm. And when I say 2 years, it's very limited because sailing seasons in Sweden are very short and we didn't go out very often. And the first time that we encountered conditions out of our comfort zone were in the North Sea and across the Bay of Biscay. I am not going to lie to you, those times were difficult for me. I was scared, I was very nervous, it was hard, I was doing my best to be a useful crew member. I was very anxious, and you can go back to those videos, it does not look pretty. Fast forward a year and a half later, in those same conditions, I am perfectly fine. I know that the boat can handle it. I know how to deal with those situations in terms of the navigation, in terms of my own personal preparation. And the beauty of it is, there is always going to be something that is outside of your comfort zone. But once you have started to expand your own, you start realizing that you are capable of much more than you know. And yes, the beginnings, not very comfortable. But now I'm like, yeah, we can do this. So if you're scared, I totally understand, I absolutely relate, but I'm here to tell you that it will not last. And your comfort zone is probably very expendable too. And I mean, look at me, guys. If I can do it, there is no reason you could not. And you know, all those things like developing sailing skills and knowing your vessel, doing maintenance, heavy weather passages, I thought that those would be the hardest part of changing our lives from going to a corporate job every day from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, to living on a sailboat and sailing full time. And I'm gonna tell you what the absolute hardest part of transitioning is. It's not the sailing. Oh, hi, honey.
Hi.
It's the relationship. As soon as you move on board your boat, your partner becomes literally everything to you, and you go from not seeing him or her throughout the day and interacting with your colleagues, with your friends, with anybody that you need to talk to that day, to spending literally 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year with your partner, and they become everything to you. They become your friend, your confidant, your psychologist, your nurse, literally every role that anyone was filling in your life at this point. And there is no way that your partner, or you as a partner, will succeed at all of these roles at the same time, or that it will be easy for you to switch from being the romantic partner to being the colleague or the co-worker or the captain. Or most people who prepare their sailing adventures prepare their sailboat, their sailing skills, their finances, literally every aspect of their life to prepare for the transition. The problem is that when you set sail, you can have the best sailboat, you can have the best sailing skills, you can have a big budget to go wherever you want to go and do whatever you want to do, but if your relationship is not ready to handle the stresses of this particular lifestyle, well, I let you imagine how far you can go. And let's be real, watching sailing YouTube is probably not going to help you prepare your relationship for the ups and downs of the onboard lifestyle. Like, you don't see a lot of people talking about the challenges that living on board, changing countries and contexts and circumstances every week or every month, the fatigue of sailing, the stress, all of those things. That you don't see a lot of people talking about that impact on a couple, because it's not always super pretty. So here is a concrete tips to prepare you to the challenges that await on your sailing adventure. Right now, go get yourself a couples counselor. Seeing a couples therapist now achieves two things for you. The first thing is that it establishes a contact with a person that you trust and that you feel comfortable working with for the long term. And the moment that something is a challenge is not the moment where you want to establish contact with somebody completely new online, because therapy online is a bit different. Ryan and I have had our couple counselor for the last 5 years. I believe she's been with us before we started our adventure. We didn't specifically see her because of the sailing adventure, but because of other challenges that we were facing at that time. Oh boy, did she become absolutely instrumental. Because here's the second thing that it achieves. What it does is give you an out. There are always conflicts and there are always roadblocks. Moments when I think something and Ryan thinks something else, and we feel different things and we have a really hard time communicating or coming to a conclusion. And instead of fighting and, you know, having it in our head for days and thinking about it and it becoming like a bigger issue over time, what it does is give us an out card. We're like, all right, we'll talk about it in therapy. And it diffuses a lot. It diffuses a lot of the tensions on board. You can do it without a couple counselor, but well, ours brought us a huge quality of life. I love you, honey.
Do you?
We live in a very small space and we only have one bathroom. Alright, now it is time to tell you about my biggest regrets. Things that I really wish that somebody had told me, don't do that, do not do that, this is not a good decision. When we are at the planning stage of this adventure, we are absolutely dreaming. We're dreaming about this lifestyle and we are intimately convinced that it will answer all of our needs and desire for as long as it lasts. Quit your job, sell the house, buy a boat, bam. And I'm here to tell you, wait, we're gonna up. When Ryan and I decided that we were going to pursue the sailing adventure, we sold my apartment and moved in Ryan's apartment. And the way that we paid for the boat was by refinancing Ryan's apartment. This is today my biggest financial regret. I am out of Stockholm's housing market. I owned an apartment that was right in the center of the city that was beautiful. I had a big mortgage on it, but it's a mortgage. I am pretty sure that I could have covered the cost by finding a tenant. I tried to rent it out, but it didn't work. If tomorrow we decide to go back to Stockholm and I want to rebuy a similar apartment, it will be absolutely impossible. And I don't even think that I could buy another apartment in Sweden again. And I definitely regret that. So, as much as you can, keep the house, refinance the house to buy the boat, put a tenant in the house or rent it out on, you know, holiday rentals to generate an income and make sure that the house doesn't cost you much or anything while you're out cruising, but keep the house. And the reason is, one, if you have never tried the sailing lifestyle before, you don't really know if you're actually going to like it, and having the option to exit is extremely valuable. Two, you are selling a mostly appreciating asset to buy a definitely depreciating asset. Now, Ryan would tell me not all houses are appreciating assets and not all of the time. It's true, but mostly in today's world, for now, it is. Besides, if you decide to sell your boat to go back to land because of the fact that you've been probably out of a job for a while or out of an income, or you've been living on saving or retirement, it's probably gonna be really hard to get another mortgage. So do what I say and not what I do. Yay! The list of things that I wish I knew before leaving the dock is immense, and those were the main things, but let me know if you would want to know more details. In the meantime, if you're planning your own sailing adventure, I recommend that you watch this video about how we went from zero to full-time cruising, or this one about how we learned how to sail.
I was very nervous before I left, and many other people are very nervous before they left. You're not alone.
Everybody's anxious.
Everybody's anxious.
Go to therapy.
Go to therapy.